Right, well, I wanted to do an updated video on why you want to compete and are you ready to compete. I did one years and years ago, but it needs to be updated. Obviously a lot has changed in the landscape of natural bodybuilding, in particular, the processes, the science, the research behind it. So it's really important that people understand what is required, make sure that they have the appropriate expectations, and also what they need to do to ensure that they get the best results, because it is a very big commitment. So whenever I work with someone, the important thing is I know their history. Okay, so I know their dieting history, I know their training history. I also know that they have good compliance when it comes to dieting. They have good ability to train really, really hard. You know, if you're looking to compete but you haven't got a strong history in the gym, then the objective would be to work with you for a period of time to ensure that we can get your physique to the level that it needs to be. Because these days, natural bodybuilding is incredibly competitive. The detail that a lot of coaches go into now is top notch, it's world class. So it's really important that you understand that you can't just approach a coach and go, right, I want to compete in 12 weeks. It doesn't work like that. Unless for some reason you're an outlier and you've just got an amazing physique ready to go, that might be an exception to the rule, but more often than not, it needs to be understood that you may need a minimum of 6 months of an off season or a building season before a prep can commence. Excuse me, in some cases, if you're a first timer, it could even be longer than that. Like if you want to be, ultra competitive, you may need 12 months, because natural bodybuilding, natural development takes time. It's not going to happen in a very short space of time. So you have to be prepared to put in the time, put in the work, be consistent. And consistency is probably the biggest word you'll hear, no matter what you're trying to do in terms of health and fitness, because with consistency, you will get results. So if you're training 5 days a week, every single week for 12 months, you're going to get results. If it's 4 days a week, that's fine, and you're still going to get results. Won't be as much as 5. But if it's 2 days here, 3 days here, 4 days here, 2 days there, no days, that is going to deliver a very underwhelming result. And you can't complain to anybody but yourself if you can't deliver that consistency. So the priorities when it comes to competing, you obviously need to be available to train, and you have to be frequent no matter what else happens within your life. If it's a big goal or a big objective for you, training is definitely a priority. Nutrition plays just as big a priority. So learning how to calorie track or macro track is really important. Look, you can be meal plan, that's fine, but you have to be prepared to have very regimented and repetitive options when it comes to meal plans. When you are calorie tracking, you obviously have more flexibility, and you also need to be prepared to be uncomfortable when it comes to nutrition too, where depending on the division that we choose to put you in, and that is obviously a collaborative decision, putting you into an off-season may require you to carry some weight. So therefore, with weight, and obviously strategic weight, not just getting fat, but actually eating in a comfortable surplus, that's going to encourage your body to grow, because you're going to be naturally strong, you're going to have lots of energy, therefore you're going to perform in the gym really, really well at a high level, you're going to recover really, really well. Therefore, your turnaround on lean tissue development is actually going to be quite efficient, and that's what we want. We want to put you into that optimal position to do so. When we talk about entering a prep, that'll obviously, the timeline will be dictated by when the season is that we want to compete, as well as your starting point. So how much body fat you're actually carrying at that point in time, how much we believe you need to lose to get into a competitive state. Generally speaking, it could be anywhere from 25 to 30 weeks, some even longer, just depending. And the reason we go for a lengthy prep, because we don't want an aggressive diet. We don't want to create a position where your body's going to use muscle as fuel, burn muscle as fuel. We want to encourage the body to manage fat loss through this entire period of time. And it needs to be done in a manner that's conducive to maintaining the tissue that you've developed. The last thing you want to do is work really hard in an off season, 6 months, 12 months, even longer, build up this strength, build up this physique, and then lose it during your prep because of the process that's being taken, and it's inappropriate and aggressive and not conducive to a good end result. So it's really important that you understand that a lengthy prep is much better for the body physiologically, but it's also much better for the mind as well. Mentally you can manage that a lot better over a longer period of time. Yes, it's a longer period of time. I get that. I've done it plenty of times. It is challenging. No one said it wasn't going to be. It is very, very challenging, don't get me wrong, but a longer prep is definitely conducive to a better outcome. And that's been proven time and time again. So, anywhere from sort of a 25 to 30 week prep is generally the time frame that we look at. It's not necessarily linear. The approach needs to have, I guess, strategies within it for diet breaks, refeed days, deloads. You know, we need to manage the expectation of the individual, but also their physique. We need to manage fatigue. We need to manage and mitigate the risk of injury. So there's a lot of things that go into it to ensure that the outcome is successful and you come out looking $1 million, irrespective of the result. You know, we have no control over that, but if we put you in the best position possible where not only are you going to look great, but also your health is a priority, and that's one of my biggest philosophies when it comes to prepping someone. Their health is a primary objective of this whole process. If you are showing signs that your health, whether it be physical health or mental health, is starting to waver or starting to show I guess, a downgrade, then we need to seriously look at whether we withdraw you or whether we push to a different season. There's plenty of other options available. So it's really important that you come out of this experience in a really strong position, but also your health is optimal. You know, there are plenty of bad stories around in the industry, and unfortunately that gives the industry a bad name about people who have really struggled post-show. They put on excessive amounts of weight. Mentally they've been unstable. Women losing their periods, and all these sorts of things can occur. So it's really important that we control the controllables and put you in the best position possible to be as healthy as possible, but also be as competitive as possible. Now, other things to consider is the cost. The cost of natural bodybuilding, like many amateur sports, is quite high. You've got to be prepared for that. You can't come into this without the understanding that it is going to cost, you know, probably a couple of $1,000s, if not more. Coaching fees, you've got posing fees, then you've obviously got entry fees, registration with the various federations. For females, bikini costs, you know, you've got to allow probably a minimum of $600, if not more. For everybody, there's obviously tanning. For the girls, it's hair, makeup, and the tan. Then you've got travel expenses as well. So, you know, it does add up, and it adds up quite quickly, particularly if you want to do more than one show or more than one federation. So you've got to be prepared to do that. So if you are considering doing a show in the not too distant future, make sure you budget for it. Okay, set a budget aside. You can talk to other people, talk to a coach if you've engaged one, identify what's going to work best for you and where you're going to travel to. You can always stay close so you don't have to travel too much, but then there's obviously opportunity in terms of traveling interstate or even overseas. Those opportunities are always there. And that's the beauty about this sport, is that there is a plethora of opportunity depending on what you want to experience. And it comes down to your experience as well. So collaborate with your coach on that regard. But you've got to be, I guess, back to my original point about, are you ready to compete? You've got to be mentally ready. You've got to understand and not have a poor relationship with food. If you're binging on weekends, or if you're eating heaps more on weekends and you're not sticking to a diet, or you haven't stuck to a proper diet for, say, a 6-week period or longer, then that's probably a red flag, and that needs to be worked through first. And you can do that with a coach, you know, and spend that time first, which is why time with a coach and developing that relationship is really important. But also training intensity. A lot of people go to the gym and just train for general health, and that's fine, that's amazing. But if you're looking to improve your physique and obviously develop it with an end goal of potentially doing natural bodybuilding, then you need to understand the levels of intensity that are required, and you have to train out of your comfort zone. And that has to be done on a regular basis too. So again, that's why I guess a coach is a really integral part of this process, because they'll set you up on a training plan that will be strategic towards that goal. They'll set you up on a nutrition plan that is strategic towards that goal as well. And they'll also coach you through all the other nuances that are part of this process. So there's plenty that goes into it. I've done a podcast on this topic as well, but I wanted to do this video and revamp it. Look, at the end of the day, if the goal is there, you'll find a way to do it in terms of time availability, training, nutrition, stress management, mental health, water intake, etc. But speak to someone first. Most good coaches offer free consultations. Chat to someone. You want to make sure you're aligned, you're on the same page. You want someone with experience, someone who has obviously the appropriate credentials and qualifications, and puts your health above anything else. That's the biggest thing. So if you're watching this and you want to learn more, please DM me. Email me, no problem. But yeah, just make sure that you are aware of what you're about to step into. I love the sport, don't get me wrong. I'm a massive fan, I have passion. I'm two-time pro. I've done it for 10 years. I've competed over 40 times. And I've coached over hundreds of athletes. You can see some of the awards I've received in the back here. So I definitely am ingrained in it, but I love it. I think it's amazing. It provides a lot of empowerment. It provides a lot of structure, strategy. It provides a lot of focus for people, and it can just make you feel really good, which is what life's about. So, yeah, there's nothing stopping me from continuing to work in this industry. So, look, if competing's for you, reach out. If it's not, that's no problem as well. But thank you for watching, and I hope you get a little bit out of this video.